This is a video that I am making for my Psychology of Women class on sexism. And one of the places that I think I see sexism the most is in society's expectations of women. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on women to be perfect, and that we still have this idea that women should just be quiet and pretty. And even though I don't think that's something that's explicitly stated anymore, I think it's still there. And one of the things that shows that a lot was a study done where men and women were participating in a group discussion, and when women were speaking 50% of the time, men felt that they were dominating the conversation. And it wasn't until women were only speaking 30% of the time that they felt that it was equal. And I know that women use a lot more qualifying language, saying, I think that, or from what I've seen, instead of just stating facts or their point. And I know I'm guilty of this. I definitely say, oh, I think the answer is a lot when I'm in class, but it's still something that I do. And I know I've heard plenty of stories from women about being in meetings where they made a contribution and it went totally just ignored, and the men really didn't, in the room, just didn't really respond at all until, somebody else, a man, restated the exact same thing and was, got a real response, a positive one. And, there's tons of stories also of women being assumed to be a secretary or an assistant by men who they outranked. And you see this even with little kids. When girls are being, demanding or acting in charge, they're called bossy. But when little boys are doing the same thing, people say they are showing good leadership skills. And you never hear boys being called bossy. And I think we just let boys be loud and disruptive while we tell girls that they need to be quiet and well-behaved. And I can remember in elementary school, there was always more boys than girls getting into trouble for being loud and disruptive in class. And people always would say, oh, that's just because girls mature faster than boys. But I think we just let boys get away with a whole lot more, saying, well, they're just little boys, boys will be boys, when we hold girls to a lot more scrutiny. And I don't think this is something that parents or teachers are doing intentionally, but it's definitely still happening. And I think probably the worst thing about sexism today is that all these things really go unnoticed. And it's not hard to look back and, 17th century laws that say it's illegal for women to speak in public and be like, wow, that's completely ridiculous. Or even to look back on the suffrage movement and say, wow, it's also pretty ridiculous that women had to fight just to have a voice in their government. I think we just need to be a lot more aware of the sexism that's out there today, because it just comes from biases that I don't think a lot of people realize that they have. And that's where the danger is. We need to be aware of it so we can change, so that we're not, expecting women to just be quiet and pretty, where we, think that they're the secretary, not the boss.